I am 98 years old, and this morning I opened a drawer I haven't opened in years. The drawer sticks. It always has. You have to pull it with both hands and brace your knee against the cabinet, and even then it groans like it resents you for asking. The smell that comes out when it finally gives cedar and something older than cedar, something woolen and cold and distant. Like a room you haven't been inside since someone you loved was still alive. And there, at the back, folded under a broken watch band and 3 buttons that belonged to nothing anymore, was the sweater. I held it up, both hands, and I almost laughed. Almost. It is the size of something a child would wear, stiff at the cuffs, the color of a winter sky or what used to be. It fits across my 2 palms like a small, sad flag. And I am standing here in this cold room, holding this ruined thing, thinking about how nobody tells you that life shrinks the same way. Not in one disaster, not in one phone call that changes everything. It shrinks in the wash, quietly, on a Tuesday, while you are busy with something that felt more important at the time. That is what I want to tell you. Life doesn't end with a crash. It shrinks, slowly and without announcement, and by the time you notice, none of it fits you anymore. I wasn't always like this old, this quiet, this easy to walk past. There was a time, and I want you to understand this was real, this was true. There was a time when I was the reason people came, not just showed up, came, with intention, with anticipation. Sunday dinners at my table. And nobody sat down until I sat down. Not out of ceremony, just habit, just the natural order of things, the way water finds the lowest point. I was the lowest point. Everything flowed toward me. My laugh was loud, I knew it, and I didn't apologize for it. It would bounce off the kitchen walls, and my wife would shake her head, but she was smiling while she did it. My grandchildren used to orbit me like small, chaotic planets, pulling at my sleeves, wanting to tell me things, small things, important to them things, what they built at school, what animal they saw on the way over. I was the audience they wanted most. I had opinions about everything, and people asked for them. My daughter would call on a Wednesday, just a Wednesday, no occasion, and say, "Dad, what do you think I should do?" And I would tell her, directly, no hedging, and she would say, "Okay, just okay." And that one word meant everything. I believed that was permanent. I genuinely believed that. Not arrogantly, or maybe arrogantly, I'm not sure there's a difference at that age. I believed that because I had always filled every room, I would always fill every room. That presence like mine was self-sustaining. That the grandchildren would keep orbiting. That the dinner table would keep waiting. That my daughter would keep calling on Wednesdays. I never once asked myself what I was doing to keep it. I just assumed. An assumption is the hot water cycle of relationships. It ruins things slowly, and you don't see the damage until you reach in to pull something out and find it's not what it was anymore. The chair I used to claim at the kitchen table, the one at the head closest to the window, it sits pushed in now. Fully pushed in. Like nobody considered it. Like the table has rearranged itself around my absence so completely that it no longer leaves a gap. I noticed that 3 weeks ago, and I stood in that kitchen doorway for a long time. Now let me tell you about the sweater. This was decades ago. Winter. One of those mornings where the cold comes under the door and you can feel it through your socks before you even get out of bed. I was rushing. I was always rushing back then. Always somewhere to be, something to run toward, someone waiting on me. My wife had a system for the laundry. She had explained it to me. More than once, I think, though I couldn't have told you that then without the word more stinging a little. Wool gets cold water. Gentle cycle. You lay it flat to dry. You do not, under any circumstances, put it in on hot and walk away to make a phone call about something that doesn't matter anymore and hasn't mattered for 40 years. But that is exactly what I did. I knew the rule. I want to be clear about that. I knew it. I just decided in that particular moment, on that particular rushed winter morning, that it didn't apply. Not this once. It was one wash cycle. The sweater was mine. It was a good sweater. Heavy wool, wide at the shoulders, the color of a winter sky. And I told myself nothing would happen. I came back to find it. I pulled open the washing machine and reached in, and what I pulled out was not the sweater I put in. It was a version of it that had been punished, shrunken down to something childish, stiff, the arms barely long enough to reach a grown man's wrist. I held it up in that cold laundry room and I stared at it, and then I folded it, and I put it in a drawer, because I could not face what it meant, because I could not stand there and absorb the full lesson of what happens when you know the rule and ignore it because you're in a hurry. That sweater has been in that drawer ever since, 30 years, maybe more. And I have thought about it more times than I can count, because what happened to that sweater happened to everything I didn't pay proper attention to. My daughter called less. I noticed. I told myself she was busy. I was busy. We were all busy. I shortened her calls when they did come. I had things to do. I had somewhere to be. One hot cycle. One rushed morning. Doesn't matter this once. My wife would tell me stories in the evenings. Sitting in the front room, the lamp on, the street quiet outside. She would tell me about things she'd seen, people she'd talked to, small details she'd been saving up to give me. And I would listen at about 60%, maybe 50%, because I was also thinking about something else, reading something else, somewhere else in my head. One hot cycle. Doesn't matter this once. My grandchildren grew up, and at some point, the orbiting stopped. Not dramatically, they didn't pull away. They just slowly, reasonably began to have their own gravity, their own lives, their own tables, their own loud laughs in their own kitchens. And I had not done the work, the steady, consistent, deliberate work of staying tethered to them. So when the pull lessened, I had nothing holding me in. Wet wool on a cold radiator. That is the smell of every relationship I shrank through inattention. Now I sit. That is mostly what I do. I sit, and the phone doesn't ring by dinner, and if I have an opinion, the room is usually empty when I give it. The house doesn't arrange itself around me anymore. It just exists. The furniture stays where it is. The kitchen is quiet. The drawer sticks. I hold this sweater and I think, this is what I did. I had full-size things. I had large, warm, generous things. And I treated them like they could survive any temperature. Like they were permanent. Like the rule did not apply to me. This sweater cannot be stretched back. I have tried in my mind for 30 years. You cannot unrun the hot cycle. You cannot restore the original shape of something you shrank through carelessness. It is gone. The original is gone. What remains is this. Small, stiff, and honest, in a way I never was. So I am going to speak to you now, directly, because I am 98 years old, and I have nothing left to be polite about. You have full-size things right now, tonight, in your life at this exact moment. People who still call. People who still wait for you to sit down before they start. People who want to tell you small things and are waiting to see if you think those small things are worth your full attention. Do not put them in on hot and walk away to answer something less important. Call the person you've been meaning to call. Not tomorrow. Tonight. When someone tells you a story, put the other thing down. All the way down. Look at them. Be in the room completely. When someone asks how you are, answer slowly. Think about it. Let the question matter. Because here is what I know that you don't yet. The shrinking doesn't announce itself. There is no alarm. No single moment where you can point and say, that is where I lost it. It is Tuesday. It is a rushed morning. It is one phone call that could wait, but you take it anyway. It is 50% attention when someone who loves you is in the room. And then, one day, you open a drawer that sticks, and what you pull out is the proof. I am folding this sweater back now. Gently this time. The way I should have done everything. The drawer is going to groan when I close it. It always does. And the smell of cedar and old wool will linger in this cold room for a while. You still have time to wash things properly. I'm telling you that from the far end of 98 years. Don't waste it on hot.